What's up, everybody? Christian James here. Today's video: obese foster mom kills 10-year-old foster kid by sitting on him. Let's go.
A foster mother in Indiana faces several years in prison after pleading guilty to sitting on her foster child to the fatal point where he could no longer breathe. 49-year-old Jennifer Lee Wilson admitted to her role in killing her 10-year-old foster son, Dakota Stevens, in April. On April 25th, the Porter County Sheriff's Office responded to a call about an unresponsive 10-year-old lying outside in a driveway. The young boy was identified as Dakota Stevens.
That little boy there maybe weighs 70 pounds. I have a 10-year-old son. He weighs about 90 pounds, and that kid is all head and no body. Rest in peace, sir. But that's a little boy who weighs about 70 pounds she sat on.
Authorities tried to provide CPR to the young boy, but deputies noted he wasn't conscious, wasn't breathing, and had no pulse. First responders also noticed Dakota had visible bruises on his lower neck and chest. The 10-year-old was rushed to a local hospital but tragically never recovered from his injuries and died 2 days later. After an autopsy, officials determined his manner of death was homicide caused by severe swelling in the brain and being deprived of oxygen for an extended period of time. Dakota also suffered organ damage as well as bleeding in the liver and lungs. According to police, his foster mother, Jennifer...
That, ladies and gentlemen, looks like a person who's acceptable to foster a child. That person can't take care of themselves. That self is two people. That person needs 2 seats on an airplane because they're fee, fi, fo, fum, fat as shit. Look, I know we live in this world where it's okay to be fat, except for Ozempic came out and clearly, fat shaming wasn't a real thing. They all want to be thin, but none of them want to do any work. If this is what you look like, you shouldn't be in charge of other people. Because if you don't give a fuck about yourself, you sure as hell won't care about them, as this fat bitch proved.
Wilson became visibly distraught at the scene. She told investigators Dakota was acting out all day. He refused to do his chores and ran away from the home. However, she later found him at a neighbor's home just a few blocks away. But the neighbor told Wilson Dakota had asked her to call the police. Wilson reportedly told the woman to mind her own business, and she drove him back home. But when they got back to Wilson's house, Dakota initially refused to get out of the car, but then he got out of the car and reportedly screamed that he was leaving. According to court documents, Wilson tried to prevent the boy from leaving. She told authorities she didn't know if she tackled Dakota or if they fell to the ground, but her intention was to hold him.
You weigh 340 pounds. He weighs less than 100. You lost your balance because you and your Kangos collapsed and you tumbled onto a small boy and crushed him. That's what happened.
While Dakota was on the ground, Wilson told police she lied on the boy's stomach to keep him under control while she called his caseworker. That act would have devastating consequences. While Wilson sat on his 90-pound body, Dakota screamed.
Again, folks, it says he weighs 90 pounds. My son weighs 90 pounds. That boy is not as big as my son in any of those photos. He did not weigh 90 pounds. That or he's really tall. Look at this, though. Like, you're bigger than the chair. The chair can barely contain you. And you thought the best way to help someone was to lay on them. Rest in peace, little man. Let's get this story over with.
And then stopped moving. Investigators recovered ring camera video that showed Wilson lying on Dakota's midsection near his head and neck. And the video reportedly showed the horrifying moments young Dakota took his final breaths. The footage reportedly showed the 10-year-old fighting to get free before he became motionless. After realizing Dakota lost consciousness, Wilson could be heard screaming his name before saying, "I was laying on him and he was acting bad." Wilson was arrested across state lines in Michigan after a warrant was issued for her arrest. She was charged with reckless homicide, which she ultimately pleaded guilty to, and now faces prison time for his death. According to reports, Dakota wasn't in Wilson's care for very long, only a month prior to his death, and he bounced around several times to different foster homes as he reportedly spent the last 5 years of his life moving around. According to the Indy Star, Dakota's parents lost custody of him and his younger sister in 2018 after the Department of Children's Services concluded his parents were unable to care for the children.
What a rough life, little man. You're born to shit parents, you get adopted to shit people, and unfortunately you pass away. Rest in peace, little guy.
According to the outlet, other family members tried for several years to gain custody of him and remove him from the foster care system, but ultimately were unable to do so. Now, as Jennifer Wilson faces sentencing, the reckless homicide charge in Indiana reportedly carries a sentence of up to 6 years in prison.
That's not enough time. That boy had the rest of his life left. You should get life in prison. You laid on him. You weighed 340 pounds. You don't have to be a genius to figure out what a 250-pound differential. By the way, I weigh 250 pounds. I'm huge. A 250-pound differential will do between fee, fi, fo, fum, smush to a 10-year-old. You killed him. You killed him with negligence, and you killed him by laying on him. It's your fault. You should spend the rest of your life in prison. Obesity is okay, but if you're a fit parent, you don't have to crush your child to death to actually keep on to them. You can just grab them, give them a little hug, see if they'll calm down, because that's what that kid needed. That kid didn't need that. He's going to run back to his friend's house. Let him run back to his friend's house. He was at his friend's house, you brought him home, and you sat on him, and you killed him. Rest in peace, little buddy. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.